Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Natalia Moczulska, and this is the news. Day 441 of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The U.S. Defense Ministry will provide another military aid package of $1.2 billion to strengthen Ukraine's air defense and artillery ammunition. The Russians are also short of ammunition. Its scarcity is at the root of the conflict between Wagner Group founder Yevgeny Prigozhin and Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu. Wagner Group founder Yevgeny Prigozhin has announced that if he does not receive ammunition by May 10th, his mercenaries will withdraw from Bakhmut. According to U.S. intelligence, the Wagnerists will not carry out their threat to fear accusations of treason. In shadow of this dispute, the Russians celebrated Victory Day. This year's Victory Day was different from previous ones. There were no big military parades, which shows that the equipment that was usually in the Red Square is currently on the battlefield. Currently, Russia is going on a deep strategic defensive. Russia has lost the ability to conduct offensive operations. At the moment, it is solely preparing to defend itself. The lavishly celebrated commemoration each year of the USSR's victory over the Third Reich in World War II this year was a reflection of the current domestic situation, as well as the weakening international position. The lineup of foreign guests was poor, and even the unfortunate Lukashenko, who was probably forced to come there, probably didn't feel comfortable there either. He was actually sick and left quickly. The parade itself was not impressive, with practically only one tank, and it was an old tank at that. Ukrainians are already laughing that they have more Russian tanks than at the parade. Since the beginning of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the Kremlin has committed numerous provocations against Kiev's partners. On April 22nd, an unidentified object was found near Bydgoszcz. According to RMF24 and Polsat news sources, it was a Russian-made Ch-55 missile. The case is being investigated by the prosecutor's office, experts, and services. We can only guess and base this at least on what General Piotrowski, the operational commander of the armed forces, said, suggesting that it may be related to the Russian attack on Ukraine last December 16th, when the Russians massively used cruise missiles of various types, including precisely Ch-55 missiles. If the thesis that a Russian missile was fired from Belarusian territory proves true, then this will be further evidence of Minsk-Moscow cooperation. Paweł Latuszka, the former Belarusian ambassador to Poland, said he has evidence confirming President Alexander Lukashenko's involvement in the abduction of children from occupied Ukraine to Belarus. Currently, hundreds of Ukrainian children are being deported to Belarus. There are data on several hundred to 1,000 of these children, and this gives grounds to accuse Lukashenko of involvement in genocide, just as Vladimir Putin was accused, and a warrant was issued for his arrest. This was done by the International Tribunal in The Hague. The U.S. Defense Ministry will soon provide another package of military aid to Ukraine. $1.2 billion will cover expenses for munitions and strengthening the air defense system. Good news for the Ukrainians, especially in view of the counteroffensive planned for the near future. Earlier today, the Kremlin said that Poland's decision to rename the Russian city of Kaliningrad in its official documents was a hostile act, as bilateral ties continue to fray over the war in Ukraine. Kaliningrad was known by the German name of Königsberg until after World War II, when it was annexed by the Soviet Union and renamed to honor Soviet politician Mikhail Kalinin. Warsaw said on Tuesday that Kalinin's connection to the 1940 Katyn massacre, when thousands of Polish military officers were executed by Soviet forces, had negative connotations, and that the city should now be referred to as Królewiec, its name when it was ruled by the Kingdom of Poland in the 15th and 16th centuries. The current Russian name of the city is an artificial baptism unrelated to either the city or the region. Poland's Committee on Geographical Standardization said. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said the decision bordered on madness. You know, this is not even Russophobia. What's going on in Poland is bordering on madness. We know that throughout history, Poland from time to time slips into this madness due to their hatred for Russians. This has been repeated for many centuries, from the 16th to 17th centuries and even earlier. This does not bring anything good for Poland and the Polish people. Of course, this is not just unfriendly. These are hostile actions. This is how we qualify them. Residents of the Russian city of Kaliningrad commented on Poland's decision to refer to the city by its historic Polish name. I know that there are certain geographic things which we name differently, and other countries name them their own way. If there is a historic reason for them to call us this way, I do not see why they would not choose Königsberg. But generally speaking, I do not care. I am against it. I like our name, Kaliningrad. I am happy to have lived here since my birth. I do like our name very much. The Lithuanians have installed the road signs with the city's name of Kruleviec. So what? Nothing would change, in fact, because of them changing the name, apart from needing to change all their documents. If they want it, let them do it. Relations between Poland and Russia have historically often been very strained, including during and after World War II. Moscow says it liberated Poland when its forces drove out Nazi German forces at the end of the war. Most Poles believe the Soviet Union replaced Nazi occupation with another form of repression. More recently, Poland, a member of the NATO military alliance, has strongly backed Ukraine after Russia's invasion on February 24th of 2022 and has stepped up the demolition of memorials to fallen Soviet troops across the country. Armand Soldin, a French journalist working for AFP, was killed by Russian missile fire in Chasiv Yar near Bakhmut in the Donetsk region. The 32-year-old had been covering the hostilities in eastern Ukraine nearly since the beginning of the conflict. The death of 32-year-old video journalist Armand Soldin in Ukraine came as a painful shock to his colleagues at the Agence France Presse, AFP, their news director said earlier today. Soldin was killed on Tuesday by grad rocket fire near Chasiv Yar in eastern Ukraine, AFP confirmed.
I think we're all incredibly shocked at AFP this morning. We're used to covering difficult situations and conflicts and wars around the world. We know the risks, we assume the risks. And it's always incredibly hard when things don't go as we expect. Armand was someone who was loved by his colleagues, who was incredibly committed to the story. And to lose him in these circumstances is incredibly painful for all of us.
I remember him, and I don't want to say things that are too personal, because he covered my last visit to Kiev in particular. So thank you, Annalena, for honoring him. I also want to pay tribute not only to his courage, but to the work you are doing, which is essential for us to know the reality of the facts, for us to know the truth, in Ukraine as elsewhere. The attack happened in the town's outskirts close to Bakhmut, the epicenter of the fighting in eastern Ukraine, for several months, AFP added. Soldin was with 4 colleagues who were all unhurt. They were with Ukrainian soldiers during the attack, AFP said on Twitter. The AFP agency is working to repatriate Soldin's remains and providing support to his family. Ahead of the imminent end of an anti-COVID-19 policy that for 3 years prevented asylum applications, migrants gathered at a border fence in the Mexican city of Tijuana on Tuesday, waiting to cross. The policy, known as Title 42, expires on May 11th, prompting a flood of migrants to the border. Video showed migrants huddled under makeshift plastic tents and waiting in line to cross into the U.S. I feel like I'm in limbo. Let's see what happens. I hope to be able to pass to the United States because I have a son there. He's 18 years old and I want to be with him. We decided to hurry. We are waiting. Title 42 is almost over. It'll be more difficult for us to cross, so we decided to travel before May 11th. We see a more difficult situation at the fence. Migrants are going to continue crossing like in Juarez. That is going to generate a humanitarian crisis on the U.S. side because we cannot intervene. They are already under the protection of Border Patrol. They are responsible for the lives of these people, and well, surely many are going to be returned. We are going to see a lot of returns because of these crossings that they are making. Activists say groups began arriving this week in the border city with San Diego, California, hoping to get ahead of a possible flood of asylum applications when the ban expires. The U.S. has insisted that the end of Title 42 does not mean the borders will be open. In a phone call on Tuesday, Biden and Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador discussed border security measures as they prepare for a potential migrant wave when a key U.S. border policy ends this week, the White House confirmed. They also discussed the urgency of reducing crowding in northern Mexico and affirmed their commitment to address the root causes of migration from Central America, the statement said.
I spent I think close to an hour with the Mexican president today. We're doing all we can. The answer is it remains to be seen. We've gotten overwhelming cooperation from Mexico. We also are in the process of setting up offices in Colombia and other places where someone seeking asylum can go first. But it remains to be seen. It's going to be chaotic for a while.
The Biden administration and Texas state authorities are sending reinforcements to the U.S.-Mexico border to prepare for a possible increase in immigration when COVID-19 restrictions known as Title 42 end on Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Please stay tuned for Poland Daily Weather, Poland Daily Business, and some of our other programs. But for me, have a wonderful evening.